when you were getting ready to call the Bucks Magic game? What happened?
We got word maybe that Toronto might do something early in the day, but we really couldn't put any credence behind it because we didn't have enough information. But once we got to the arena, we noticed the NBA official from the office kind of pulled the referee crew to the side and kind of talked to him. Mm-hmm. And we were looking like, okay, is that game related? What's going on? So we kind of let it pass. And Orlando was on the court shooting around. So was Milwaukee. But once Orlando went to their locker room to get ready for the pregame warm-ups and came back out, as the clock continued to tick down to 0, Milwaukee never re-entered and came back on the court. Man. And that's when we got the announcement that they had chose to boycott, and they spoke with the Orlando Magic team to also get them involved. So it was game day as usual for us. But once the clock hit 0, that's when we got word that the game would no longer be played.
Wait, so clarify for me real quick, because I know there was a lot of discrepancy among that. Did the Magic know that the Bucks were going to? They didn't. Wow. Okay. Right. Now, the energy has already been different in the bubble. We know that. The energy is just weird. What was the atmosphere like yesterday? Could you feel the energy even more different than the already strange senses in the bubble?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, because it was an unknown sense of fear. You didn't know what was going on, especially for people who were working, because you're like, okay, are we staying here? Do we have a job? Is the season going to continue? We know that since the games are going to be canceled yesterday or today, that's what I'm talking in present terms, like yesterday, more than likely Thursday games are going to be canceled as well. Where does that leave us? Okay, a lot of people who work on the production side, media side, were just wondering what the next steps were going to be. I, as an analyst, did not know exactly, would there be games played? Was that stay in Orlando? Was it to leave? We just didn't know. But the thing you do is a lot of times you step back, you allow the situation to work itself out. Instead of trying to negotiate in your head what's going to happen, you try to allow the players to do what they have to do in regards to their meetings. We knew the Board of Governors meeting was going to be today, and then you would come with an outcome, and then we would go from there.
Now, the players decided to keep the season going and play in the playoffs. You think they made the right decision?
If that's what they want to do, yes, because it was certain demands that they made of the Board of Governors that they felt that was conducive to their commands. Now, I want to back up a little bit because I was listening to you and, Marcellus and Emmanuel talk to Chris about moving forward and what is going to happen. As we've seen in the past, a lot of demands that haven't been met, in the rubber band theory, like you talked about. I like that, Emmanuel. But I think the difference is in the example you use, Emmanuel, with Jesse Owens and also John Carlos, the difference is they didn't control the economic standing of track and field at the time. True. Okay, so they can say what they want, but track and field was still going to go on. Okay, their impact didn't affect the bottom line as much as we see today. See, what's happened in the NBA when I played, the union and the NBA didn't have this working relationship. Okay, it was always butting head. But what we've seen over the last 5 to 10 years is that, especially since Adam Silver has taken over, you have a different relationship. Okay, more of a partnership. So the voices and the demands, and I don't like to use the word demands, but the voices of the players are heard a lot clearer in today's world. Okay, so now you can sit down at the table and consider yourself true partners. Yes, there are going to be some disagreements, but at the end of the day, that's why the bubble took place, is because the NBPA and the NBA were able to get on the same page. Moving forward, we've seen that the voice is strong within the NBA by bringing together the attorney general, I think there was a district attorney of Kenosha, Wisconsin, to bring that press conference to fruition, okay, and push that agenda forward. I think what the players want is these owners in these 30 cities, you have an opportunity to impact these communities from a social standing. Not that they're not doing something, but they can always do more. The players want these owners to do more, whether that's voter suppression, whether that's criminal justice reform in their cities, whether that's racial equality in their cities. That's what they're asking. Now, it's not the onus of just the basketball players or the NBA to push this agenda forward. We can open up the conversation, but the question is, once this conversation is open, what does the rest of society lend to making change? We're only a conduit in some aspects of what can happen, but we need everybody involved once these parameters are set in order for all of this to come together and effective change needs to be made.
Well, then let me ask you this. I guess my first small question is, did you get the sense that the Magic wanted to play? That's my first part.
I don't know because we weren't down there. We only got the back end of what happened because think about this, if you're in the locker room and you're ready to play, and then they tell you what we're boycotting, of course you're ready to play because you didn't have this conversation. But what I'm hearing too is that there's a couple players on the Milwaukee Bucks team that had a conversation the night before about this, okay? And then they took it to their team game day, okay, about the strategy of what they wanted to do. And sometimes, I tell you, for a plan to work, you can't let everybody know, bro. You just can't. You just can't do it because now you start to leak the situation and it's not as effective. So I applaud the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm sure Chris Paul, being the leader that he is, was able to talk to the player representative there in Orlando, explain the situation as to why we're doing this, what the outcome would be, short-term and long-term, and we need you on board. And at the end of the day, the Orlando Magic complied with that and also chose not to play the game.
Then let me ask you this, because you're down there, you're in the heat of it all, you're in the mix of it all. Are the players on the same page across the different teams? We heard LeBron wanted to play, then LeBron didn't want to play. Okay, LeBron wants to play. Clippers don't want to play. Okay, the Clippers are going to play. Magic weren't notified. The Bucks were going to play. Are the players on the same page?
You're never going to have full cooperation. It's impossible because you got different agendas, different perspectives, different ideas. But the thing is, as a collective group, that's what a union is for. You make a vote and the majority wins, okay? And if you're going to support somebody, even though you don't agree with it, that's what you have to do. I'm sure there'd be some dissidents. You heard that maybe LeBron walked out last night in the meeting, but yet he came back to the table and had a conversation and expounded on that because you have to agree to disagree. Everybody is not going to be comfortable. Everybody has a different situation. I don't care what it is. You and Marcellus work together, and there may be conversations you have about how the show is going to go. You may have your idea, Marcellus may have his, but at the end of the day, you come together and say, okay, this is what we're going to discuss. These are the topics that we're going to challenge ourselves with. That's the beauty of having a team atmosphere. We don't always have to disagree for a decision to be made, but as long as we're on the same page and the message that we're saying, once the decision is made, is comprehensive to what we're doing and is in line to what we're doing, then you have the full cooperation.
Yeah, Jim, everything you see on this show is just me saying, go ahead, Acho, whatever you want, big dog. You know me, I got all these kids. I ain't tripping. All right, here we go. To your point about LeBron going back and forth and obviously really trying to reconcile his emotions, are there any concerns about the players' commitment to finishing the season after an emotional few days?
But that's a great question. But just like anything, you got to be a professional. Life is not perfect. When you choose to step out there in an uncomfortable situation, you still got to do your job. You got to be professional first. Life is not easy. Life is not to make easy. How many times have both of you played in an uncomfortable situation where it may be something at home with your family affecting you, but you still had to go do your job because that's what you do as a professional. So when you step out on a limb and you want to take this stand, you have to still go and do your job. End of the day, there's no excuse.
That's good. Yeah, as Coach used to say, they pay you the big bucks to do the things you don't want to do.
You better believe it.
Thanks, Jim, man. Continue.
Anytime, brother.
Great energy.
Keep doing your thing, brother.